hey everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Rae Show. Thanks for stopping by. I'm back to make another marble, and today I'm going to do something kind of sideways. Usually when things go sideways, that's not a good thing, but we're going to make it go sideways on purpose. So let's get into it. So last week I was using some silver filings, and I'm going to go for that again. But I'm going to do a totally different configuration. So I have a 10-12 millimeter rod here probably, and we're going to try and get something going on with this with some silver, and then we'll do some other stuff. But this will be one of these projects. I'm using my little heated curling iron oven here. Drop some silver on the marble plate. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of silver, and I've got some 5 millimeter rod. I'll trap some of that down. Add some gold fume, trap that. So it's kind of hard to figure out. You got kind of some chaotic motion going on here, trying to get this good and hot. So I kind of lay it down here, roll it back and forth a little bit, grab some silver, and knock off some excess. All right, get back going here with our 5 millimeter clear. And I want to trap some of the silver. And then on this other side, I'll put down some gold fume. Get our parts oriented here. Okay, looking good. Lift my shade so I can see better what's going on here. Trying to do some kind of thin lines here. Oops. Okay. Pulling on that a little bit too much. We'll fire up the big flame here and cook this in. Just use this as a handle. Get this good and soupy hot. And we're going to twist this up. I'm going to cut this free on this end. So then I'm going to condense this down. We'll clean up this end, get rid of this excess clear glass. Try and get this to get a little tighter like a ball. Maybe. So I need to grab it from the other side to get the other end condensed down. So cut that handle loose and then clean up the end here. Okay, now once we get this kind of shortened up, you want to tag at 90 degrees, and this will be, so we're going to tag on the side that'll be on the inside of the marble in the background. So we'll pick a side here. And we'll cut off this other end. Clean it up. And that's my little centerpiece. We'll set that in our little hot box until we can get our main rod ready to accept it. Well, I hope everyone is doing well today. We've got some beautiful weather right now. Supposed to get some rain. We're looking forward to that. We need it. Seems like more places around the world are hoping they get rain. But this is late June. It's been a very dry, warm June for us. So I'm kind of gone to summer mode out here in the short shop right now. So got some fans going. Trying to get out here this morning, although it's getting late in the morning by this time. I'm just getting started. So I need to gather up a good chunk here. So this will take a minute. Meantime, I'm kind of looking to skim off glass that's not super clean. Trying to get a nice clean core. So I'm going to be doing a little something different on the back side. So this is going to be hopefully a pretty straightforward, simple build to start with, and try and get this one finished out without taking too much time. So it doesn't look like anything's happening, but I'm rotating quite a bit, keeping it more or less on center, and let it fall back and gather up some glass. And then this zone right in here is where things kind of pile up. Oops. Then you add to it, that doesn't help. Okay, it can get a little messy here. Okay, that's looking like a pretty good chunk of glass here. So now we got to rotate until it stops wobbling around too much. I try to minimize the time this little garage oven runs, because it throws out a lot of heat. It's kind of an open structure. It doesn't have any insulation or anything, so cut that off. Okay, that's pretty stable. Grab our piece out of here. Now when we join these pieces, we want them to be pretty screaming hot. So I'm trying to dance these around in the flame without hitting each other. Kind of switch back and forth, or ooze up in the front of the flame, who's in the backfire. And when we actually come together, we want to just touch and try not to bounce back and forth like I just did. And very slowly work these two together. And once it's all getting pretty toasty, we can pull loose our handle and just let that glass melt together. Focus a little bit more just on that seam. And we start to see this cone shape develop. Okay, we can kind of switch to our paddle. And push that cone to shape. And it's so often the case when I get going with this phase and I'm getting a little bit of twist and torquing on it a bit, get it to twist. And I do quite a bit of twist. Sometimes I'm looking for just a real gentle bit that get fairly aggressive here and trying to kind of mix these lines up a little bit. Okay. And that's the interior design. Now, I'm going to do some blue-green frit. Kind of focusing the heat on the thicker part of the glass. Okay, drop down and take one spin in the frit. At that very end. A bit more covered. Alright, I think that's the only frit I'm going to do. Get this to melt in on its own. Okay, once that's pretty well melted in, then you kind of shape this up again, but this time without twisting. So you do that by kind of rolling the surface of the marver at the same rotation as the piece you got going on. Oops, wrong way. Sometimes when I want the flame to go down, I think I've got the big fire going. Okay, sometimes at this stage I would do some fuming and then back it with black, but I'm going to keep this one pretty simple. Kind of minimize effects that might be conflicting. So start out just with the rod. You're going to throw down the full weight from the rod of black, jet black. And then break away and leave a little gap, and we're throwing down a pretty thick layer of black. Done this a couple times recently, trying to get some texture in that background. And sometimes I have so many layers you can't really see some of these subtle effects. So this one hopefully is simple enough we can look into this inner wall and see something going on. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty critical to just leave it alone for what I'm trying to do, this effect of getting some dimensionality going on inside there. I want to just get the heat soaking in there, so I've got kind of an angle, kind of sort of angle the piece into the flame. And again, I'm kind of focus the heat right now into the wider, thicker part of the glass. It takes more heat to get it up to melting temperature, flow temperature, if you will. Okay, now after that much time in the flame, I've got a lot of heat base that I don't need. So just let that cool down for a moment. And then I pulled out kind of a fat stringer of black to try and fill in this gap. Okay, knock that in. At this point, I'm not really looking for dimensionality. This needs to be kind of flat, so we can go ahead and, however that, kind of push that in. And we kind of lost our sharp point, so we're going to try and focus that point in. So this is kind of a two-pronged effect. I'm kind of pushing both ends, the wide end and the cone. Some on this very end didn't seal up too well, so we'll just daub on a bit more black. Try and keep that closed in. Okay, more or less. All right, moving on. We are going to drop down some silver fume. Okay, we're up to just building up the back, bulk of the back. So do that just adding a whole bunch of clear. I'm going to stitch this in. And this is kind of a bit of a time-consuming process, but it's kind of mesmerizing, kind of relaxing. Just kind of let it take its time. A lot of glass work takes some time. You can only heat up and cool down just so fast with glass. Trying to get this clear rod to melt. It melts pretty quickly, but you still got to apply it with some care. So in this process of trying to not disturb the underlying layer any more than we have to. Yeah, so kind of a simple marble in construction. I'm curious to see what kind of effects we can pull out of it. I already have in my mind what I would do differently the next time I tried something like this. There's things that you just gain from the experience of watching the glass and watching what's going on. So I can come up with ideas in my head of the steps that I want to take, but they may or may not translate to the physical world. It's kind of like waking up from a dream, and then you start trying to do what you had in your mind, and you think, oh yeah, that worked out great in my dream, but that's not the way the real world behaves. So, and sometimes you can pursue that thinking and think, okay, well, so how would I do what I had in my mind as what this was going to do? But every one of these marbles is another experiment, another adventure. So I kind of always have that internal process of what I think should be going on, what I want to happen, and then when I see the results coming out of the kiln tomorrow, in general, there'll be things that surprise me, and usually it's some good surprise. Okay, got kind of a first layer on there. So at this point I'm kind of overheating to burn out some of that fume that spilled over onto the lens side. Kind of squeeze that edge together. Don't need much clear coverage on there, just need it covered. And down here to the pointy end. And push that clear glass away from that point. And back it up. Get that first layer nicely melted in, fully fused. And then when we add more glass on here, it's a little easier. Now clear on clear is a little easier, and you're not worried about disturbing the layer that you're laying down onto, so the base can be hotter and flow the new glass on there more aggressively. I'm using up quite a bit of glass to fill in here. And at this stage, this form, it's kind of elongated. So as we melt this in, we'll also kind of condense it, shorten it up. Okay, we're getting pretty short on this clear rod. All right, a little bit of melting in here. Throw down some heat. Well, it's a good time to get a sip of coffee. I got my favorite mug. It's got both the patterns, his dragon and a her dragon, and then our logo. So Rae was able to put these together with the print-on-demand service that we have. We've got some merch store right under the video, and you can specify you want one pattern, two patterns, whatever you want, and replacement. So you can really customize and make something cool. Yeah, we can switch sides. With all the yard work and stuff, I got issues with my elbow. It's feeling better right now, though. Yesterday it was pretty sore by the end of the day. So I wasn't sure how torching was going to work today, but I had to bust out one piece this morning at the other torch bench and then set up over here, get ready to do this video. So I got out here bright and early to just get going. At this stage of my life, I don't really torch as much as I could. Certainly not anything like I used to. but it's more than just enjoyment. I mean, this is part of our gig of living here. Yard work and glass work. That's my main business going on here. Do a lot of groundskeeping, not just for our property, but for the neighborhood, going along the edge of the road and out in some of our community areas out in the entry to our little neighborhood. I like to keep things looking nice. Yeah, we're getting pretty wibbly wobbly here. But that condensed it back a little ways. I'm trying to kind of round it up. That should be pretty good. Once again, gotta give it a minute, let it settle down. You want to push that edge to be out of control, but you want to regain control. Periodically, you need to get back in authority of your glass. Alright, so I only have 2 colors that I'm going to put on the back. Usually I do 3. I'm going to try a little different approach. And hopefully this will be a little different use of stringer, but I'm going to leave this kind of an open pattern because I can see down into the silver fumed base. So I've got some, let's get back to just straight up, some dragon's blood here. So it doesn't look like much right now, but it will end up in the finished marble as a nice gem kind of a thing. It's not too bright, so I lift my shades. So it goes kind of clear when it's hot, which makes it a little challenging to put it down. And you can see it kind of striking as it gets away from the flame that it started with. Okay, I have enough of this cane. I hope I've got enough stringer for the other color. Alright, it's my mystery color today. This is Blue Moon. You think this would be pretty easy to just follow the track. It's kind of, some of these things are kind of like highway hypnosis. You get a little zoned out, and then it's kind of like, I can literally get my eyes crossed, but you start kind of, your eyes play tricks on you, put it that way. Well, I had plenty of stringer. That was not a problem. Okay, I'm going to flash it a little bit. Then we're going to put clear on top of that. Now by drawing just clear on the top, it's not going to completely cover it. I have little wobbles in my application, so some of it may come through uncovered, and that's okay. Either way, it does or it doesn't. These exotic colors, I don't think I've done this before on a marble backside, covering it with clear. Because most of these colors, if you leave them uncovered, they're definitely not suitable for surface work. It's been worked a whole bunch like a marble gets. Okay. Well, see what we get. Last week I tried oh gosh, now I forgot what color it is, but it didn't turn out all that great. I mean, that color didn't really do anything interesting. Aquatic Carnival. So I just turned kind of muddy, some little subtle effects, but didn't produce any interesting color. Just kind of washed out. So usually what happens when you add clear on top or something like that, you'll get the edges will be left as the exposed glass that isn't covered or clear. So that's why I thought I'd just stick to two colors, because you're going to get effectively like three colors. Which is what I usually would put on the back. But you can do whatever. You could do just one color. I just got in a pattern of doing three colors, and that's been kind of my signature thing I do on the back of the marble, but there's so many different patterns you can do. trying to get this edge to... Nope. Alright, it's just being weird. Okay, well, let that settle down for a moment before we start raking. So far, so good. All going, my little ideas I had going this week. It's coming together. Okay, come out here and get raking. This definitely gets bright. You got your shades on. Well, let's go back here. Come on. Yeah, that's right. Never mind. Don't mind me. Okay, come back to on center, hopefully. Okay. You can see this blue moon. It's got a lot of metal in it. It's kind of self-fuming. Hopefully when we finish this marble out, we can get it to kind of burn out that fume it's trying to do on its own. Yeah, it felt pretty thick and goopy raking. It's going pretty slow. Okay, we'll try our marble mold here and give it a little action. Okay, time for a punty. Oops, totally messed up my punty there. It's okay. Warm it up a little bit and get back on center. Sometimes it gets too hot, too out of control. I just drop down to the smaller flame and focus on that for a minute. So I'm trying not to really push this together, just kind of letting, and I do have a little bit of weight in the rod in my left hand that's kind of leaning in, but I'll let the glass do what it wants to do. Just building up a little bit more on this outer surface. Okay, now we can come out to our cutoff wheel. Sometimes I go at it just one run through, but I'll run through a second time if it feels like it needs it. And start pulling it apart, just pull just a little bit. You don't want to pull out a big old stringer of glass. Okay, start ripping out some surface here. This actually looking pretty clean. I'm surprised. There's always some mess right along this edge for sure. And it usually goes deeper than I can really gouge out without causing some more issues. So I try and keep the tweezers in the water, keep them wet, so when we get them on here, hopefully the glass doesn't stick. And I'm trying to dig out some of that deeper glass that's disturbed. So just doing some trimming. And I drag along this edge and kind of make a sharper defining edge between the clear and the color. It's not critical, but something I like to do. Yeah, and the rest of this is just kind of skimming a little bit off the top. So it's in the fire, drop out of the fire, grab it, drop it off in the trash bin, and go back to the water with the tweezers. You don't want the tweezers sitting right in the flame if you can avoid it. Slow rotations, and that clear glass to start forming up the lens. It's a nice egg shape. Wind up with quite a lot of glass on the color side, so the lens is kind of smaller in proportion than sometimes I would have it. Actually, I want to go to this guy for a minute. It's a little off, a little wonky, so I can't really do a fast spin like I sometimes do. I just have to be pretty on center. This might be better now. Okay, well, I'm going to go into the oversized mold here in a little bit. That L marver allows it to kind of square up that barrel form, get rid of any little waves in the glass as it's contorting. We're getting there. So that is the lens largely formed. It'll deform in the next section, but That's a good starting point. Alright, trying to get a new puntee connected on center. Pull off this one we're done with. Keep rotating all the way through this little switcheroo. That new puntee is not that firm. And I like to kind of clean up that end. It'll still have a puntee mark in the final stretch, but trying to keep it cleaned up. Now onto the color backside. It doesn't move nearly as fast. So just kind of give it some time to soak in. Got it angled up so it can kind of fall back on itself. But at this stage we want some serious heat base, so we want the internals to be moving. This way the spinning is kind of a nice way to start bringing it together without pushing on the outside with molds, because now it's moving the interior part as well. So you get more of a pulling effect than a pushing effect. With the exterior, you're pushing in. In fast rotations, you can pull it from the inside out. And then we can drop into the mold, kind of level, giving it a little pressure. And because I'm writing just on the rim, it leaves kind of a bump on the end. So once again, just let that glass try and melt together, melt down as it wants to. Now when we go into marble mold, we can go all the way through the end there. And again, once it's in there and pretty round, I'm using kind of some pressure and squeeze that glass together. Then I can look at the reflections. And we've got the backside pretty well shaped up. It's looking good. Came together pretty well. So then we go into the marble mold with fast rotations and a light touch. And then at this point, you can lose some heat. So now the internal it's pretty darn close to the finished shape. One of my puntee went off my center, it's no big deal. But the graphite mold will suck out a lot of heat. So then when we come back to the torch, we're just going to flame polish that outer surface. So that means slow rotations, intense heat, get it glowing good and hot. And then we come out of the heat. Let me try and fix my punchy here. Hanging straight down is a good way to get on center. Do another run with some good intense heat. Get that surface nice and smooth. And get out of there. Yeah, we're really coming down to the final stretch, so we can let this cool down a bit. Time for our last puntty, and this one we want to be kind of careful. We want to prep it to be a nice little bullet nose. We'll try and find our spot. Heat it till it's glowing, heat the tip till it's glowing, touch it together. So that's kind of a, not quite a cold seal, but pretty close. And at this point, hate to even say it, but be careful, don't bump it, don't run it into anything. Kind of gentle with it at this point. I want to make sure I get all the remnants of this attachment out of there so you don't see a little artifact. So now the very front face is a little flat. And I see a little bit of something on there. See everything on the surface. Now's the time to get rid of it. Okay, so for this step I want pretty good hot, but the clear heats up pretty easily, so doesn't need to go too far. Then we're going to be very gentle with the marble mold coming on the back side where it's solid. And that will generally leave some concentric circles on the very front face. But that's okay. We'll just flame those out. So we can do a little heat, wait a moment, do a little bit more in the marble mold. That's kind of a little tricky thing. You don't want it too hot. You don't want to wait too long. It's a timing trick there. So the marble mold's done all it can do. Now it's just going to be a heat cycle here, especially on that very front face. come out of the heat with some nice, even, slow rotation. Okay, one more time. Reflections are looking nice and smooth. Okay, now we get to cool off a minute. Alright, once we get the glow getting low, I don't want to rush this point, but I can hover over the marble mold, so I should screw up now. Hopefully this drops into the marble mold without any issue. So we'll get some tweezers wet here. Tink, knock it off. And then just get some good flame going on that 20 mark left. And then we're just going to watch for reflections. We just move this around. So hopefully there's little wiggles there, but hopefully you can get it to where you don't see much happening in the reflections, and we can call it good. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Another interesting marble. Yeah, it worked. Made it. Pop this in the kiln. We are good for this week. Thank you so much, you guys, for hanging out, watching any of these videos. We've got more to look at, totally different stuff on our Bitterroot Alchemy Etsy site. There's a link down below, a bunch of links down below in the description. Check it out. You guys take care of yourselves, take care of those around you. Be kind, have fun, enjoy life. We'll see you on another adventure, another day. Check it out.